You're watching Swimming World TV. I'm your host, Brent Rutemiller. I'm here at the Ask the Clinic 2018 in Anaheim. Caught up with a good friend, Tristan Lehari, with Triton Wear. Now, Triton Wear is a leader in tools for wearable tools and a lot of metrics. But how would you describe the company?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're the leader in sports analytics and wearable technology in swimming.
So you've made a big impression on a lot of people, and what I found very fascinating is that now you have some new tools that's helping coach look at their daily cycle on training and taking that rate of training, yardage and intensity, and putting a graph to that allows us to look at whether or not you're undertraining and overtraining.
Exactly.
And to say what that might mean to the athlete when it comes to injury and injury prevention, which is an incredible tool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, I guess, over the last few years, we started working heavily with national federations around the world, and we work with kind of the top sports scientists around the world, and we're really trying to bring the research that's being done at the very top of the sport, down into the everyday coach's hands to make it possible for them, to get what these sports scientists get every day. And a big piece of that is around injury prevention, and that's a big challenge in our sport. It's a long grind of a sport, and we're trying to keep athletes as healthy as possible.
So, sports scientists, a lot of everyday coaches out there don't have access to sports scientists or analytics that the sports scientists can come back to those athletes and those coaches say, look, this is important for you to be aware of. But you're providing that tool through some of what you have the software. So we're going to just pan right over here, if you don't mind, and look at this graphic right here. This looks like a season here starting in May and running all the way through September 24th. Tell me what are the red lines, the green lines, and those other lines?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're doing here is we're monitoring athlete load over the course of the season. So when we talk about load, we're talking about volumes and intensities that they're training at, and really what we're able to do with that is tell an athlete if they're changing that training load too quickly. And if you change your training load too quickly, you put yourself at a higher risk of injury. So when I say higher risk of injury, I mean overtraining or undertraining. If you see the red lines on the graph, that means you're overtraining. And if you see the orange lines or the yellow lines here, that means you're undertraining. And actually both of those will put you at a high risk of injury.
Okay, so we'll go back to the injury part, but for right now, what we're looking at right over here is these are all red lines saying you're overtraining, and it's not because of the yardage and intensity, it's just how quickly you got there?
Yeah, exactly. So, athletes can train at extremely high intensities or extremely high loads, but the thing that really hurts athletes is how quickly that load changes over time. So if I ramp up, especially at the beginning of the season after maybe having a few weeks off, if I ramp up too fast, I put myself at a heavy risk of overtraining. Or if I suddenly cut back quite a bit because I'm not feeling great, or I start skipping practice, then I'm at risk of undertraining. And both of those increase your risk of injury greatly.
Okay, so Tristan, let's just summarize that really quickly. So when the coaches are using your product and then they're uploading their workload to your database, you're then putting a graphic on that, and based on those graphics, you're able to know if they're putting themselves in a position of injuring their athletes.
Exactly. So so exactly. So we basically do the complex sports science stuff all in the background. So all we do for coaches, we just flag if they're at risk of injury, and then we actually will tell them, first of all, you're overtraining. Second of all, what can I do about it? So we'll actually recommend volumes and intensities for next week to get them back into the safe zone.
Okay, and if they don't take your advice, or the studies show that they maintain that same type of level, what is the percentage? What's the chances that they're going to induce injury on their athletes?
So the average right now is around 20 to 30% risk of injury for most teams, just because of that change in load. So if you effectively monitor your training load and act on the insights that we provide, we'll keep that injury risk below 5%. So it's effectively like wearing a seatbelt versus not wearing a seatbelt. Okay, so let's go back to the graphic here real quick. So when we come in here, so right here, this red line, their chance of having injury on their athlete is 20 to 30% higher? It really depends how much higher above that safe zone they are. So the higher you are above the safe zone, the bigger the increase of injury. But they're probably in the 15% range there. If you get much higher than that, you're 20%. Beyond.
So it's like warning, Will Robinson.
Exactly. There, we need to get back to the safe
zone. So you may have made a recommendation here to get back, and all of a sudden they're pushing it too fast.
Pushing it a bit too hard again.
But But as you can see, these lines are higher than these lines over here.
Yeah.
But the fact of how they got there is safer.
How they got there, yeah. The thing is, and like I said, it's not about the training load itself that injures athletes, it's how fast they change that training load. As you can see, even into the future there, they're able to greatly increase that load well beyond where they were earlier and not be in the red zone because they increased it gradually. And that's what keeps athletes healthy.
It's fabulous, great feedback. So the season goes on, and all of a sudden they drop off down here. You say, "Hey, now you're undertrained."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need to start picking it up a little bit.
But the coach say, "You know what? We did that on purpose because maybe we got a little mini taper going on or something like that." But if he can justify it.
Yeah.
All right, now looking back down here, so we're looking at July and August, which might be like a taper, a race period here.
Yeah, it could be taper, race period, exactly. And they might have cut back. They might have cut back too quickly, is what that's showing, though. You don't want to go from 100 to 0 in taper. You want to gradually step down to that taper zone, and you can do that safely. You just need to be able to, make sure you mitigate how quickly you do that.
So you're giving them things that they can interpret, but you're saying, hey, without knowing what your reasons are, this is how we interpret this.
Exactly.
And then it might be a second taper, and they might brought up the yardage again a little higher here, and then went to a second taper. And now all of a sudden they're starting their next season, and they might
ramping
be
up too quick, and that's a big problem. Kids want to get back in the water, they want to get at it, they want to get ready for the next race, and kids will ramp up too fast sometimes. And that's when we see it a lot, especially if they come from a time period where they spend a bit of time off.
And what's fascinating here is now all of a sudden we are really into ramping up. But they're being safe, and their chances of injury are fairly low.
Yeah, exactly. You're sub 5%. Like obviously we can't say 0%. There's always that risk. There's always that risk of injury that can happen. But ultimately, it's all a probability game in swimming. It's all about numbers. So the lower that probability of injury, the safer you can be as an athlete.
Wow. So it's like having a personal sports scientist right there on just a club that can't really afford that. And you're constantly updating this with new studies, new information. What a great tool.
Yeah, so we're constantly bringing more and more research down to the everyday coach, so that even one coach with 20 kids in the water and a community club team can take advantage of this kind of information. That was previously only available at the very top.
Okay, so and let's just take a little bit of time about some of your basic tools real quick. Let's kind of pan over here and tell us about what's going on right here with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the foundation of our entire system begins with the Triton unit for whether it's load monitoring or our motion analysis tools or just basic performance tracking. So the Triton unit sits on the back of the swimmer's goggles or just under their cap, and we capture all the performance metrics based on their motion. So we're grabbing splits, stroke count, stroke rate, distance per stroke, turn time, time underwater, over a dozen different metrics, and streaming all that data in real time.
That's Wi-Fi or is that Bluetooth?
It's a custom protocol, but it streams to our little hub device.
Oh, so this would be a hub device right here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's our basically creates a local network at the pool, so you don't need internet.
That's kind of cool. Got a nice little antenna there.
Yeah, exactly. And that streams Bluetooth to your tablet, so you get real-time data for 50 athletes simultaneously or more even.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So this is your core product.
Yeah,
everything's built around this.
Exactly. This is the foundation. So it all starts with data collection and collecting data on a regular basis. Once you have data being collected regularly, you can do these advanced things like load monitoring or tracking performance data over time to make sure athletes are progressing in the right places at the right time, and also just to give you early indicators of weaknesses.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Tristan, this is fabulous. It's great that you're able to provide this technology and this feedback to the coaches. I think globally the world's going to improve. That's why we break records all the time. You're in all continents right now?
Yeah, we're in over 35 countries around the world, all levels of athletes from grassroots, 6-year-old, 8-year-old beginners up to Olympic gold medalists at the top. So the whole spectrum. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again.
Awesome, no problem. Thank you.
This is Tristan Lehari. I'm Brent Rutemiller with Swimming World TV saying if you want to win, first help someone else win.